Hi there and welcome to my channel. I'm Jennifer, this is A Country Life, and today we are going to make a homemade chicken noodle soup supper with homemade bread. So let's just get right to it. I have a working kitchen, so it is not going to be perfectly like cleaned and organized all the time. When you come here to my channel, you're always going to see stuff in the background happening in the kitchen. First up, yes, that says bacon grease and that says tomato juice. That's wrong. It's actually syrup. I just made some maple syrup, like homemade, but it's fake maple, okay, if you know what I mean. I just made some syrup out of brown sugar and corn syrup. Anyway, I sometimes save my lids just to have a couple extra that I can use for things like this when I'm not canning it, and I don't necessarily need it to seal, but I don't want to waste good lids, because if you are a home canner, you know that supplies are sometimes hard to find. Okay, what we're going to be doing here for homemade chicken noodle soup today, I'm going to actually do part of it in my Instant Pot. So I have 3 leg quarters here, and that's what I'm doing. I make chicken noodle soup so many different ways, in the sense that sometimes I use chicken breast, sometimes a whole chicken. It just really depends on what I have. And chicken noodle soup does not need to be complicated though. But I do want a good homemade chicken noodle soup today. So I'm going to get all 3 of these, and they're just a little bit frozen still. I'm going to get all 3 of these into my Instant Pot here, or my electric pressure cooker. I have about a cup of water in the bottom. And it is a really, really dreary day today. Yesterday morning, we woke up. Warren had to irrigate because it was an irrigating day. And as soon as he was just starting to shut down the irrigation, it started to rain. And we were like, boy, we weren't expecting that, because on the news the night before, they were saying rain, but farther up north. Anyway, somehow it stalled out, and it rained yesterday from like whatever that was in the morning, 9 o'clock or something like that in the morning, and it rained all day. Then it kind of cleared up a little bit, and then started raining again by the time we went to bed. And here it is, Sunday afternoon. It's like 12:20 and it's still raining. We were not anticipating that. I just sprinkled on a little bit of poultry seasoning. I'm also going to put on a little salt. And this is just going to help to season up the chicken, as well as season up any drippings that come from this, because I am going to use the drippings along with some homemade stock that I made the other day. I cooked down bones until they were very brittle. I cooked that all down, actually 3 chicken carcasses, and I put that into the fridge. So I'm going to be using that good bone broth. We're going to add some pepper. I'm going to get this on. There we go. Set it to seal. Plug it in. I'm going to set this just to the, I'm just going to hit the poultry button, and that puts it at like a medium-high pressure for 20 minutes. That's just right. So right now it's heating up and starting to come up to pressure, and for my electric pressure cooker, that's all I have to do. I hit the poultry button and I walk away, and it will do everything it needs to do. It'll do this little circling around until it comes up to pressure, and then it'll beep. That will be the start of the actual pressure cooking time, which will be 20 minutes, and then it will have to depressurize as well. So Instant Pots are not necessarily instant. When I first got this one, I was under the assumption, with the way people talked about it, that they could make a meal so incredibly fast. I just thought that whatever the time was, you know, I would see something like a roast and it would say, you know, has to go for, you know, 23 minutes or something like that. And I was like, wow, that's amazing. But you have to factor in the pressurizing time as well as the depressurizing time, and that all adds onto the time. Still a lot faster than cooking something in a slow cooker all day, but it's not as instant as I actually had thought originally. All right, I'm gonna get out my vegetables, which is gonna be super simple: carrots, celery, and onions. I'm gonna keep it really simple, because that way I know that everybody will love this chicken noodle soup. Sometimes I like to throw things in there like green beans, corn, some cabbage. I've even put a little broccoli in it before. Those things definitely give it a little bit stronger flavor. And I like that. I like a good vegetable chicken noodle soup, but not everybody does. Okay, with the vegetables cut up, I am going to get some bread going in my bread machine. I've said this a lot of times, or I've showed it a lot of times, where I use my bread machine on the dough cycle to make up my bread dough, and then I always transfer it out, shape it, and bake it in the oven. Now, could I do it in the bread machine? If it is the right amount of dough for my bread machine, which I believe the max for cups of flour on my bread machine is 3 cups of flour, maybe 3.5 cups of flour. And that amount of flour, that makes that amount of dough, it can bake up in my bread machine. Sometimes I double recipes, or I have like my soft sandwich bread recipe that is like 6 or 6.5 cups of flour, and it's okay to make the dough in there, but it will not bake up properly. And I personally, okay, that it just pressurized up, so it's probably been about 15 minutes that it took for the chicken to pressurize, and now it's going for 20 minutes. And I personally, I just don't really like the way the bread turns out baked in the bread machine. I feel like the crust gets a little too hard. And it just seems a little dry. I also just don't like the shape that it's in. And so anyway, I just always make the dough and then bake it in the oven. It's just as easy, and I feel like it turns out better. So by the time that you see this video, a lot of you have probably already received your cookbooks. I hope that you guys are enjoying them. Thank you so much for ordering from me and just, I guess, just trusting me in bringing my recipes to your kitchen. Or I shouldn't just say my recipes, but recipes that I have accumulated over the years, recipes from friends that I've absolutely loved. Some I alter a little before they become part of the cookbook. Some are just as is, because they're just perfect as is. Okay, so we are going to go to the bread section here. Soft sandwich buns, herbed sandwich buns, crusty mini loaves. This is a recipe I make often, and today I'm going to double this today and do 5 cups of flour, just because we're going to be having some of our older kids over for supper tonight, and I want to make sure we have enough. This makes 4 small crusty loaves, and last time I know we ate all of it right up, so I'm going to double it tonight. And let me give you guys a little close-up. Sorry for that shadow. Let's do it like this. And there's a close-up. There it is. You can screenshot that if you'd like. If you'd like to have all the recipes in one place, you can go down to the description box below, click on the link. It'll take you over to my website where you can place an order for the cookbook. It's $15.95 for one cookbook. I know that's $2 more than my first one was originally, but their prices, when I send it off to the printer, their prices keep going up. So in the recipe, it calls for bran, all bran. This is what all bran looks like. I know a number of people have mentioned that they have not seen this at their grocery store. There is something called all bran buds, I believe. These are more like sticks. I think the buds would work just fine. I also think bran flakes, like an unsweetened, not something, not like Raisin Bran or something, but just a regular bran flake would work just as well. I wouldn't even crush them up probably. I would just, well, maybe a little bit to, so you get like a full, to make sure that you get a full half cup, but I think that would work just fine. So I'm doubling this today, so I put in 2 cups plus 2 tablespoons of warm water. I'm putting in 2 tablespoons of sugar, as well as a full tablespoon of salt. All right, my battery cut out there when I was putting in what was I doing? I was just gonna put in the all bran and the yeast, and so I set it to the dough cycle, which is about 1 hour and 30 minutes. and I'm going to let it mix for a little while. I'll come back and just kind of use a wooden spoon, or really whatever I have handy, and I'll just kind of scrape the edges so that all the yeast gets mixed in, because sometimes it'll have the tendency for the yeast to kind of like gather on the edges. All right, this has been done for probably at least 40 minutes now. So I'm just going to turn that. Yep, see, look at that. It's completely depressurized. I'm going to get the lid off so that this can start cooling. On mine I have to hit cancel, otherwise it will continue to keep the pot warm. So I'm just going to hit cancel, let that cool a little bit, and I'm going to get a zucchini cake into the oven. So I'm going to get this zucchini cake recipe going. This is also in my new cookbook, and this is like carrot cake. So if you like carrot cake, this is just a really nice way to use zucchini, and it makes a delicious moist cake. The cream cheese frosting always makes everything perfect. I have my oven preheated to 350. I'm going to put this in for about 30 to 35 minutes, and actually I'll set it for 30. I'll double check with a toothpick, and then we'll put it in for 5 to 10 minutes more, depending on what it needs. I just pulled the cake out. I actually had it in for a full 35 minutes, and it's nicely done. Don't worry about it if it gets a little bit brown for you, because it does have brown sugar in it, and so that does, it just kind of naturally is going to be a little bit of a darker cake, especially on the outside. All right, I need to let that cool, and we are actually out on the UTV, just kind of touring around the property today. Sam did, we'll see, don't I look like a goofball? But once I have these on and comfortable, I like to keep them on. Anyway, we're touring around on the property today. Sam did a whole bunch of mowing, as did Warren too. And so we're just kind of checking everything out just to see if there's anything that got missed, needs to be done yet. So we're gonna let this cool and we'll get back into the kitchen in a little bit. Okay, we're back in. I have 1 egg yolk here with a teaspoon of water, and the loaves of bread have risen nicely. And what I'm going to do is just brush on the egg yolk without smushing down the loaves.
It smells so good.
The bread smells good?
Yeah, I love the smell of raw dough.
You do, huh? Ooh, one yolk is enough to do a double batch, which was nice. I was wondering if I was going to need another one, but that worked. Let's see, let's pour some just over wherever, use it up. And then I find that the best flavor is to use a everything bagel seasoning and just sprinkle quite a bit on. Did you want to do that part?
Can I do it?
Yep.
Like that much?
Yep.
Will it be ready by supper?
Yes, they're for supper. You better be ready.
I love the smell of this stuff too. I just love the smell of it all.
And the smell of all of it. Okay, I'm going to set these on the oven now I'm going to set these on top of the stove now. Let my oven preheat. It's not going to take long because it wasn't that long ago that the cake came out. I mean, it was about 50 minutes or so it's not going to take too long. And I think I have to put this at 375, but I'm going to check. Yep, 375. So this is my chicken stock that I made the other night. I'm going to skim off that fat, and I do have a little bit of chicken that I was able to pick off the bones. Not much when I cooked it down, but I'm going to get this into a big stock pot. This stock pot here, I think, is a 12 quart. Does it say? No, this says 10 quart stock pot. I'm going to have to use some water as well. I'm also going to strain out the drippings that the chicken produced here and just get a whole lot of water, a whole lot of salt and pepper, seasonings, a little bit of chicken soup base in there, and then just start bringing that to a boil so I can put in the veggies. I like to leave a little bit of the fat in just for good flavor, so that fat I'm not going to skim off. It's just fat.
Oh.
Okay.
Is that good?
I do want you to add some water to these though. You can probably fill them half full if you want. Now you can make chicken noodle soup a lot faster by utilizing boneless, skinless chicken breast or chicken thighs, but you're just, I mean, in my opinion, you're just not going to get the flavor that comes from cooking down bones or cooking the meat with the bone. It's just a stronger flavor. You get a more chickeny, it's just better in my opinion. I really like using bone-in chicken for this. It feels very old-fashioned and very much like an old farm wife would have made. Actually, Maria, this chicken skin that I just put in here, if you want to get a little container from down there, you could put that chicken skin in a container and give it to Sugar. She would like that a lot. Put it on that front burner. And then, can you turn it on to high?
This one or this one?
That one, the one you're pointing, nope, that one.
Okay.
You gotta push it in and turn it to the word light. Okay, good, now turn it, keep turning it. You don't have to press, just turn it.
To where?
Like 9, 8. There you go.
It to 8.
Yep. So we have a house full here, and that's why I wasn't really talking a whole lot while I was getting things ready. I was making the frosting, the cream cheese frosting for the zucchini cake, as well as putting together the soup. But here is what the soup is looking like, and I have a family of straining off the broth. Right? Everybody does that and leaves all the broth behind.
Amount of broth in there.
That's pretty good. That's pretty good.
Oh, come on.
But here's the crusty mini
I couldn't fit
loaves.
any more broth in there.
That's true, you couldn't. But look at Sam.
What? Yeah, no kidding, huh?
He drains all the broth.
Half of it dumped on the floor.
Yeah. So anyway, this is what supper is looking like. Oh, okay. So I do think that soup tastes better if it sets overnight, has a chance to cool, and then you reheat it. I just find that soup tastes so much better like that. But we didn't have time to do that, so we're eating it up tonight. And if there's any broth left, a lot of times what we do is just kind of put crackers or like the little oyster crackers in it, and we eat it like that too. So, or bread, whatever. But okay, in a little bit we'll show you the dessert.